Well, last week was a pretty rough week for Apple and CEO Tim Cook. He got called out by Elon Musk for a pullback of advertising on Twitter, and of course, also threatening to remove that application from the App Store. Then, he's in the process of having his company investigated by the UK and the EU for maintaining an illegal control of the marketplace by a duopoly with none other than Google. And of course, there's everything that's been going on in China. Ooh, China's looking bad indeed, especially for Apple in a lot of ways. Here we go. Now, at this point, there's a pretty decent chance that you've already seen some video out there of Tim Cook walking just as quickly as he can from room to room in the Capitol. I mean, he is breezing down a hallway. In fact, he's only a small gait's difference from actually jogging. Even started weaving between people at a certain point and looked like a human Mario Kart game. At least in a certain light, this would be considered somewhat comical. Well, I'm not finding it funny for a couple of reasons. Now, I'm sure some of you may be asking, why was he doing that, Culture? Well, I'm going to tell you. He was, of course, avoiding a reporter. Was this reporter a giant, imposing reporter? Just a massive of humanity? No. No, it was a diminutive yet determined woman in high heels. You can hear them clicking on the marble of the flooring. Now, let me say, she was a very, very determined reporter to keep up the pace that Tim Cook was, especially as he was trying to escape down that hallway. In fact, sign her up as a superhero because she was able to keep her feet while twisting her hips, changing positions, shifting her body weight, and even at times walking backwards. Very athletic, let me tell you. Now, while all that is somewhat humorous or funny to see and to picture in your mind if you haven't actually seen it yet, it certainly wasn't funny. In fact, we may be showing a little bit of the clip right here.
The Chinese people's right to protest. Do you have any reaction to the factory workers that were beaten and detained for protesting COVID lockdowns? Do you regret restricting airdrop access that protesters used to evade surveillance from the Chinese government? Do you think it's problematic to do business with the Communist Chinese Party when they suppress human rights?
This agile and talented reporter, Hillary Vaughn, was who Tim Cook was trying to avoid or ignore or whatever. Her list of questions were the things that he was trying to avoid specifically. They weren't actually difficult to answer, at least for any normal human being. They were just terribly inconvenient. It would have meant an end to the virtue signaling for Apple if any of the following questions that I'm going to read were answered. But I'm going to answer them as if I were Mr. Cook and in a way that he would never do, which would be honestly. So let me start from one and go all the way through. This is from Miss Vaughn. Question number 1. Hi, Mr. Cook. Do you support the Chinese people's right to protest? He is Mr. Cook. Well, of course not. That would upset the CCP government, and they would let us wouldn't let us sell our phones anymore there. They would also stop making our phones for next to nothing over there at Foxconn. So we couldn't make the outrageous profits that we do. Plus, we like every other company over there. We basically handed over all of our trade secrets and designs to the Chinese government. So we can't risk offending the Chinese government because they could just take all our stuff and sell our phones. That'd be bad. Miss Vaughn asks the second question. Do you have any reaction to factory workers that were beaten and detained for protesting the COVID lockdowns? Tim Cook, the way he should have answered. Well, it looked like the government was getting a bit aggressive there, but the factories actually need those employees working hard, and we don't need them to be protesting. So after all, how else would we sell our phones all over the world? Plus, there's other factories there like Nike and other major brands, and they need workers too. They need them to work. So, yeah, I can't actually have a human reaction here at all. Vaughn. Do you regret restricting airdrop access that protesters use to evade surveillance from the Chinese government? Look, like I said before, we don't really believe in freedom and human rights for people. We just say that. We believe we firmly believe in control. Removing airdrop from the Chinese phones gave the CCP the ability to control things much better, much easier, and kept those workers, those citizens from being able to organize. Yeah, we definitely had to stop that. Please don't worry. We wouldn't skip a heartbeat to do the very same thing to you here, all of the citizens around the globe, and especially in the U.S. We wouldn't have a problem with that either. Vaughn, do you think it's problematic to do business with the Communist Chinese Party when they suppress human rights? Cook, look, human rights are a facade, right? We've been ignoring them for decades. Just look at our history. You can see that it's right out there. And the ethics that we espouse, that we talk about, that our grave concern over our people, about people and the environment. That's just a smoke screen. It gives us power, and we find young people that will promote us because they never look beyond the shiny cases of the iPhones that we sell them for an enormous profit. Now, you know what, lady, I'm tired of answering your questions. You got to scram. I've got to go here into this room for this hearing and make a deal to exploit some poor kids mining some rare minerals in another country. All right, thanks. I think you can see from my answers that Tim Cook had plenty of reasons to remain silent there, because there's no way he would want to talk the truth. There's just too much evidence that can be thrown right back at him if he says a word either way, in favor of or against. It's a no-win because of just how compromised the company and Tim himself are right now, at least when it comes to China and the global marketplace, and just how beholden he is to stockholders that don't really care. And that should tell you, all that stuff, it is a smokescreen. Nobody cares about it. They just say that because it's another element of control and virtue signaling. And to be fair, because I mentioned Nike and all that other, but you have to consider there's a ton of companies, 300 or more U.S. companies that are just as compromised because they are doing business with China. Whenever you are doing business in China, you are doing business with China. So look, you do that. You get engaged over there, especially in manufacturing, even in entertainment, and you are in business with the brutal CCP regime, one that has a track record of, genocide and slave labor. I mean, we could go on and on. These are not disputed facts, well supported. I've even done videos about China in the past. And we also probably should acknowledge our hypocrisy as well, because most consumables, conveniences, and durable goods now find their way to us from companies with terrible reputations from doing business with horrible governments. This is not new, and we need to recognize why this is happening. Of course, it's happening more now because everything has been outsourced to foreign countries, China and other Eastern companies and India, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, we could always point the finger back at the leaders of our country who actually enabled all that outsourcing to happen in the first place, telling us that, that was going to be better for us. Never really is. It's really not better for those countries. And of course, those companies actually lobbied the politicians to do that in the first place. And again, everybody's trying to smokescreen us that it was in our best interest. Of course, I'm not going to let Tim Cook off the hook in any way. He bears complete responsibility, so does Apple, for any of the protesters that were caught, left out in the cold, which is being done. People are freezing to death, imprisoned, or executed by the Chinese government. That is all on Apple's hands and Tim Cook specifically. In fact, he should be called out regularly for this, whether it be in an impromptu interview in a hallway or on Twitter or whatever. He should be constantly answering for this kind of behavior for the company that he runs. And he's got to figure out a way to make it right. And it's gonna involve not virtue signaling, to come clean and to stop trying to leverage everything for power. Tell me what you think. Do you think that Apple should be punished for its actions and inactions when it comes to countries like China, and specifically China in this case? Do you think that there should be additional levies placed on companies like this for doing business in foreign countries that have a history of these types of abuses, especially in the manufacture of a specific company's products? And finally, do you think that Tim should personally be embarrassed and professionally be embarrassed for not coming clean and at least answering or acknowledging some of the answers that needed to be out there for everyone? At least be in some ways straightforward about the issues, because I guarantee you there was some kind of sanitized corporate speak that could have been doled out there, but I don't know. It's quite cowardly in my opinion. Anyway, feel free to leave me your comments down below in the comment section, and hopefully we can have a conversation about this. We'll likely have quite a fiery conversation, I would imagine. I'm going to continue to go after this stuff now. I'm going to be a lot more active on some more controversial issues if you haven't noticed. So if you like this stuff, let me know that in the comment section below as well. And of course, support other independent creators. We got a lot of people now that are, on the ground, marching forward, citizen journalism style, the whole nine, commentary channels, editorials, stuff like what I do. And they could use your support. So a comment, a like, a share, make sure you're subscribed, turn notifications on. All those things truly do make a difference. You actually make a difference, and we thank you for it. And with that, I'm going to thank you. Be sure to take care of yourself. Take care of others. Wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye. And don't forget to check out my Rumble at rumble.com/CultureCasino.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.